We're going to call to order the meeting of the Board of Education, District 208, this evening, September 23rd. Pledge of allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Molo, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Caputo.
Present.
Mr. Durkin.
Here.
Ms. Gaska. Here. Ms. Ruska. Here. Mr. Novak. Mr. Williams.
Here.
Ms. Zane.
Here. And we do have recognitions this evening. Dr. Freitas.
Good evening, honorable board members. 9 teachers at Riverside Brookfield High School held leadership roles with the College Board AP exams in 2025, including readers, table leaders, question leaders, exam leaders, and co-chairs of their department. An AP exam leadership will promote professional development and increase knowledge of the ins and outs of the respective exam. We are grateful for the dedication and hard work they put to support AP students and the wider AP community. These teachers being recognized this evening, they're fantastic human beings, great parents, great aunts and uncles, outstanding coaches, and club sponsors.
Nice.
And it's a pleasure to work with them day in and day out. I'd like to recognize the following educators present today, and for those that are not present, you can see their pictures live on the board. I'd like to recognize first Mr. Mark Helgeson.
You're wearing the same hoodie as your picture.
Slightly different ones. Volleyball, but for the volleyball.
Okay.
Mr. Helgeson, what area do you teach?
So I'm the AP coordinator for the
Okay.
school, and I work with the AP Coordinator Advisory Council,
Okay.
which is a small group of about 25 coordinators from across the country who help to do professional development training for all AP coordinators.
Oh, wow.
And then within that group, I work for a smaller team that helps manage that group. So,
Okay.
it's been a fun job since about 2018-ish for me.
Okay.
And it's something I really have a passion for doing. I've gotten to meet coordinators from all around the world, and especially a lot of our local ones that I've met through presenting both in person and on Zoom.
Nice. Thank you.
Fun. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to recognize Ms. Lindsay Minor. What's your role with the AP?
So I'm an AP reader for AP Statistics, and I think I've done it almost every year since 2011. There's about 1,000 readers for statistics, and so some go on site, and some are read from home. So I've read from home for the last 4 years to kind of allow for flexibility of schedule and being able to do kind of a lot of our end of the year stuff. I would like to just really quickly talk about Mr. Bonrigo, who has been on the development committee for AP Computer Science Principals for the last number of years. And then Ms. Chaika, who is kind of queen of computer science, and has worked with both computer science principals and computer science A. As a reader, she does the AP Summer Institutes training new AP teachers, and has really kind of been a great resource for us through College Board for, pretty much the entire time that I've been at RB. So,
Thank you, Ms.
yeah,
Minor.
thank you.
So can I ask you, when you say training AP teachers, so what qualifications do you need then to be the AP teacher? Is it training through AP?
It's highly recommended when you become a new AP teacher that you attend an AP Summer Institute,
Okay.
which is essentially a week-long 8 to 5 or 8 to 3 training where you go through the entire curriculum. If there's like key projects or activities that they would recommend, they go through that. They provide you resources. You go through the last year's AP exam. You do a lot in a week.
Wow.
And so that's, she goes all over the country. Ms. Bonrigo does it as well, training the new teachers in those programs.
Wow, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Minor. Next, we would like to recognize Ms. Patty Sarkady. Ms. Sarkady, could you let us know about your role with the AP College Board?
So hi, everyone. I'm Patty Sarkady, and I'm actually one of the teachers that participated in the AP Summer Institute this year. So the College Board wanted to bring in a career and tech ed curriculum to the College Board to offer AP to career and tech ed students. And so the College Board decided that it would be the most fluid to implement it in a business course. So the College Board is proposing starting next year, FY27, that, is that right, FY27? So that AP Business Principles of Personal Finance will be available worldwide. So that starts next school year. So I was very fortunate to do the 4-day training, and it was like 8 to 5. On the first day was 8 to 7, and meeting the group of educators that were part of this team. There were 100 of us selected to go and be take care of, like, go to this and bring back the curriculum. So we're actually piloting it right now, and so it's very exciting because the curriculum is so enriched. And I'm part of a focus group now with these teachers, and so we are talking twice a month about what works, what doesn't. We have a shared resource section right in the AP website, so that we have access to everything, and we're trying everything, and then they're seeing what works, what doesn't work, and it's really amazing. So I'm so happy to be part of it.
Wow, thank you.
I would also like to recognize the faculty members that couldn't make it this evening due to prior commitments: Mr. John Fields, Ms. Delaney Garrity, Ms. Kathleen Harsey, Mr. Dan O'Rourke. Congratulations to the 3 Riverside Brookfield High School students who were named semifinalists in the 2026 National Merit Scholarship Program. More than 1.3 million students entered the program by taking the preliminary SAT, the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test, which served as an initial screen of program entrance. As 3 of the 16,000 semifinalists, these students will continue in the competition for some 6,930 National Merit Scholarship, worth an overall total of nearly $26 million. We would like to recognize America Castañeda. We would like to recognize Quinn Hendricks. And last but not least, Zach Rosenfeld. Next, we would like to congratulate the following student on placing 3rd overall in the state at the Distinguished Young Woman of Illinois Scholarship Program, the state branch of the nation's largest and oldest scholarship program for high school girls. Sophia was selected as one of the top 22 senior girls in Illinois after completing a rigorous process that included personal interviews, public speaking, and a physical fitness routine, and a talent presentation. She was also evaluated on her scholastic achievement, which includes her grades, advanced placement classes, test scores, and extracurricular activities. Her outstanding performance earned her scholarship to 12 colleges and 3 cash scholarships to use at the college of her choice. In addition to her 3rd place finish in state, Sophia received recognition for her exceptional dance talent and earned 1st place in the fitness category. Unfortunately, Sophia had to teach a dance class this evening, so she could not be here with us. However, she is doing what she does, teaching dance. Honorable board members, that concludes recognition. I would like to ask the staff and the student to please join us outside for some photographs.
Congratulations to everyone, and in particular the semifinalists for National Merit. It's a huge accomplishment. And Student Association,
Step up to the mic.
you're up.
Actually, you can come to the table, guys. Yeah.
Do you want to pull up an extra chair? You could sit, you could stand. It's really your call. Okay.
Start?
Yeah.
Just tell us your names and
Okay,
your
good
role on the
evening. Thank you all for
essays.
letting us speak here at this board meeting. Usually there are 6 of us, but 2 of them have soccer and 1 is at work, so we are the 3 representing Student Association tonight. My name is Tommy Bogdan. I'm a senior and the treasurer of Student Association, and I'm involved in many clubs and activities here at RB, including I run cross country, part of Student Association, National Honor Society, and one of the co-founders of the newest club here at RB, HOSA.
Hi, my name is Soleika Chuba. I am the vice president of the SA Exec Board. I'm also the captain of the girls varsity tennis team. I'm also a member of HOSA and NHS helping pause, and I also run track in the spring as well.
And then my name is Violet Fury. I am a junior. I am the student spokesperson on the SA Exec Board. As well as SA, I am involved in golf, HOSA, Best Buddies, and Model UN here at RB.
All right. To start this year off, we've had huge success in getting our students involved in our events such as like the pep rally and the homecoming spirit week. We've had a lot of success not only getting our members to participate in these events, but also getting staff and other students involved. Our major goal for this year is to keep that enthusiasm up and keep everyone participating and get the school excited for our events by creating new like innovative ideas to keep everyone excited and to keep the ball rolling with that.
And then one thing I did want to touch on really quickly was our past freshman orientation that happened at the beginning of August, right before school started. We are super happy with the turnout this year. We had almost the entirety of the incoming freshman class come, as well as many others from SA that volunteered to help that day. We had tours going through the school as well as some in-class time where we went over this new schedule, gave some tips to the incoming freshmen, and just answered any questions that they might have about the school, anything about going into high school. And we're super happy with everyone that came, and overall it just went really smoothly, and from the looks of the first day of school, very effectively.
And then to touch on homecoming, which was this past week, and the dance was on Saturday. To kick off the week, we started with our Windy City themed Spirit Days, which received lots of participation from both staff and students, and lots of positive feedback, saying that everyone who participated in the days really enjoyed the themes for each days. And then our pep rally was hosted on the Friday. Once again, lots of participation from both staff and students in the games, and received tons of positive feedback from both the staff and students at the pep rally, saying that it was a super fun and exciting event that brought the spirits up at RB. And then to conclude, we had homecoming on Saturday in the field house this year, which was a little different from past years, as it was usually on the stadium. This morning we had an executive board meeting where we kind of shared our opinions on how we felt about it, and we were kind of split between who enjoyed it more at the stadium and more in the field house. But overall, really good, fun, and spirited event here at RB, and we thought that the week went very well.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So now for our upcoming events, we have many coming up in these next 2 weeks. This Saturday we have the Walk for St. Jude's, which is going to be at the Brookfield Zoo. And then following that, on October 1st, we're having our first annual blood drive. And then the following day, we are going to be participating in World Smile Day, October 2nd. And so far, we've gotten a lot of our SA members and other sports and clubs, such as the cheer team and soccer team, to all sign up for the Walk for St. Jude's this weekend. So we're really excited to see the turnout of that, as it's our first year doing this, and we're super excited to see everyone show up for the walk and see how that turns out. So yeah, and then we also have a lot of other events coming up in later October, but these are our major 3 right now. So yeah, do you guys have any questions for us?
Sounds like a lot to keep you busy.
Yeah.
Who were who was part of the royal court in homecoming?
Oh,
Anyone we know?
I was the king, and then Adeline Baya was the queen, and then I think there were 10 other just regular court members.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was a cheap question.
So did you move into the field house because of
The weather,
imminent
yes.
rain?
Yes. So sadly, since we couldn't have it on the stadium because of the rain, they decided to move it into the field house.
Okay.
And it was split, you said, this morning?
Yeah, this morning we all shared our opinions on what we kind of liked better from years prior, since it had been on the stadium for the past 3 years, at least for the seniors who are on the executive board. We were kind of split. Half of us liked it on the stadium, and then half of us liked it in the field house. So for future years.
I think about 7:45 a.m. Saturday morning, I started getting random text messages.
Mhm.
Hey, so-and-so's asking, is homecoming inside or outside? It's not like a weather day. That's a Mr. Manning question. Not a great ask question.
Well, thank you all for your service at the start of the year, and we look forward to your regular updates.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Skinkis, we have quite a bit in the superintendent and assistant superintendent reports. Why don't you jump in?
Okay, superintendent report, Senate Bill 637. That is our legislation that's helping us work on the lease language with the zoo. I've been exchanging lease language drafts with the zoo, and we'll continue to update the board as those discussions progress. We're still in the draft phase. At this point, I plan to hold off on having Liz Hennessy from Raymond James attend a board meeting until October, when she can present funding options through the tax-exempt capital improvement bonds for potential site improvements and safety enhancements. I just think it's first and foremost, we got to get the language solidified.
Do we need to talk about that before the end of the year, I would assume?
We do. We should have her definitely before the November would probably be the latest, because we only have one meeting in November.
Just so everyone can kind of keep that on your radar. It'll be a very mathy meeting.
Parent organizations, Ms. Molo sent out invitations to all of our parent organizations to attend the October 28th Committee of the Whole meeting to provide their annual report. The advisory councils that met, we had a great technology and curriculum advisory council meeting last week. That was Ms. Gaska and Ms. Haruska that participated with Dr. Freitas, myself, and Ms. Lindquist. The advisory council met on September 18th to review the performance benchmark data report, which the board will receive tonight, and updates on the curriculum guide. I did receive one question or comment. There were some concerns with the audio system at the stadium, and the maintenance and IT are already working on that. We have a sound guy coming out this week to do a test. We're not quite sure if it's the different coaches plugging in their phones and iPads with different music queued up. So we're going to try to get that solidified, but that question did make it to me, and it is being addressed. So I just wanted to include that in my report.
I just had a curious, I submitted that question. Is there a designated sound person that deals with it during the game? Or is it a different person every game, or how does that work?
There's not like a sound manager or anything, so the coaches go and plug in through the aux cord. So we have somebody coming out, like Dr. Sika said. I believe they're coming out tomorrow, so we'll get a better idea, because it could be something as simple as maybe it's a bad aux cord, or the aux where we plug in, or there's something going on there. But that's part of the problem with different files on phones, that it may not always plug in and play as easy.
I do know that there are a few students that are learning about sound engineering that could probably benefit from taking a look at it, at least, or having some guidance on it. Just a thought.
So we filmed the games, right? Is our RBTV at all involved?
Yes, the concern that was brought forward was that there were some parents and residents that were concerned, like you couldn't hear the music or the announcements. So when we hear the music, we've had some bad, like I think what Mr. Torres and Mr. Williams were just addressing. Sometimes the DJ or whoever they use to choreograph the music with dance could be on a different type of file or type of phone, iPad, whatever. But when they said they were having trouble hearing some of the announcements, that makes me think there could be something bigger, because that's not plugging in, that's microphone or speaker, right?
Yep, 100%.
And so we do have a sound technician that works with us on all of our sound systems, field house, auditorium, gyms. So they're bringing him out tomorrow, you said, Phil?
Yeah, Michael's going to get it on tomorrow.
Okay.
When's the next home game? Is it Friday?
Friday.
Okay.
That concludes the superintendent report. The assistant superintendent report, monthly summary, total operating revenue for the month was $544,000. 73% coming in from evidence-based funding, 16% from CPRT, and property taxes is 6%. Remember, there was a question submitted by a board member. 80% of our revenue is from property taxes. They have not released a second installment of property tax bills, so that's why some of the financials may look off or the budget may look off. We're barely receiving any property tax dollars. Total operating expenditures for the month were $2,990,394, with 67% of that towards salary and benefits, 13% towards building level supplies, and 8% for operations and maintenance. Monthly financials, the summary of revenues, show the district has received about 3.5% of its budget for the revenue for this year. The amount is lower than the last fiscal year, which was 34.22. That's why we're so off. We haven't received any property taxes yet.
So it's not the adjustment from the kitchen project? No, it's just because we've had
zero revenue so far in this
so
fiscal
far,
year.
okay.
The summary of expenditure shows the district has spent 19% of the budget expenditures for the year. This amount is higher to last year as the time, which was 1871. Statement of revenues and expenditures, August 31st, also lists the revenue expenditures for the month. It also compares the budget to actual for each account. Negative account balances in the student activity report represent actual fund balances for those accounts, not negative balances. The staff compensation is included in this. This is an annual report that's required by the state. It's also off a state documented format. So this is the same one we've been using every year. You can find that on the website under Human Resources.
Did we at one point have the number of years that they've been part of RB?
I do not recall that. And it's a state document.
It's a state document,
Right.
okay.
Paid facility rental fourth quarter is attached as the fourth quarter report. This report includes any paid rentals during the time period for the fourth quarter from last year, April 1 to June 30th. The district collected about $23,000 in revenue and expended about $6,200. Of the revenue from the fourth quarter, 48% of it came from facility space charges, with the majority of the rentals coming from Aquatic Center, followed by the auditorium. Year to date, the district has collected $78,000 and has expended $22,000. The surplus from the rentals is used to offset costs related to upkeep of facilities. So last year it was $78,000 to $22,000. This is reporting out on last fiscal year.
Wait, did this closes out last fiscal year?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought I understood.
And I think I answered all the questions, but let me just check 1 second. Balances for past classes in the activity accounts. That sometimes is money not spent. So a lot of times those classes will come back and give her a gift to the school district at the reunion. One of the outdoor patio with the blue tables in front of the school was an example from one of the classes. On page 14, the services, there was $150,000 this year. There's none. That food service, that was the food service pass-through account. We were running the bills for some of the feeder schools we were providing lunch for. We covered that before. We're no longer doing that. They're getting billed directly, so that's why there's no loss there.
So that's the services to other districts?
Yes, they're getting billed directly, so that no longer goes through us.
Okay.
Registration fees, yes, they trickle in. We're at about 60%. They'll trickle in throughout the year with parents on payment plans, fees, if a kid changes a course. And I believe they answered all your questions. The revenue, although there is no more $2 million in bonds from last year and the revenue and expenditure side, the biggest thing that's hurting us this year is the failure of not having received any property taxes yet. And those are all the questions I got related to the financials.
Any more questions from the?
Received our property taxes yet, we are still in good shape with our fund balance?
Well, we're paying it out of our fund balance.
Right.
So as you saw in the report, I believe she
Well, I think we
provides-
talked about this, if I could, Dr. Skinkis, even when we approved the budget 2 weeks ago and said we had a 6-month.
6 months, so we've
Yeah.
been like 2 months now, right? We've dipped down
Well,
1 month, 1 month?
I mean, I think I have some level of confidence we'll have property tax revenues by the end of the year.
Inside
knowledge. Some level of confidence, that's what I would say.
I think those are all the questions that were submitted on the assistant super report.
Were there any questions from anyone else here this evening? Dr. Freitas, do you want the student representatives to go first before the team
Yeah, I
goes
was going to
up?
say, if it's okay with you, Madam President, I could present the principal's report followed by our student advisors, and then we'll go over the formal reports.
Perfect.
If that's okay with you, Madam President. Good evening again, honorable board members. Here's the principal's report on the teaching and learning. On the 8th of October, we have the PSAT and MSQT for junior exam. On the 23rd, we have our parent-teacher conferences virtual. And on the 24th of October, it'll be an institute day. Under school culture for September, we have our first parent university tomorrow, 6 to 7 p.m. in the auditorium, where parents will get informed about the ins and outs of Parent Square and how to leverage it for better communication. Also, tomorrow morning, we have coffee with the principal. Our parents are invited, 9 a.m. in room 201. In October, on the 7th, we have our second Parent University Early College Credit Opportunities Curriculum and Course Selection Night. That'll be at 6 p.m. in the auditorium. The 10th is the end of the quarter, and the 13th, we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day. For activities and athletics in the month of September, we just had our homecoming game. Victorious for us. We are 4-0. Big shout out to Coach Styler, head coach, and all the football players. The work is paying off. And during the summer, if you saw our weight room, it was packed to the kids. So thank you to the boosters, to the board for making it happen, because the results are showing. Again, congrats to all the football players and Coach Tyler, and the dance was successful. No major incidents. Big shout out to Mr. Mann and our assistant principal and his staff for coordinating another great event. A few days ago, we had Boys and Girls Cross Country Senior Day. I had the pleasure of being there personally. It was a lovely day at Indian Gardens in Riverside, and one of our coaches, our girls' head coach, Mr. Jensen, celebrated his last senior day because it was just a wonderful, wonderful day for the cross country team. To Coach Weiss, we had celebrated the girls' tennis senior night, another great day for seniors and for Sam, and a victory. On the 26th, this Friday, we have our senior night where we'll be celebrating our boys football, Palms Cheer, Color Guard, and hip-hop dancers. For the month of October, on the 6th, we have boys soccer senior night, 6:15 at the Canadian Athletic Complex. On the 14th, we have girls volleyball senior night, 5:30 in the main gym. And on the 16th, we also have girls swimming and diving senior night, 5 p.m. in the Aquatic Center. Student advisors? Your turn, Hannah. Your turn, Aria.
Okay, so under teaching and learning, back in September 12th, progress reports were sent out with Skyward, and teachers reminded students to check on their grades prior to the reports being sent out.
And then for October, on the 29th, it is the practice ACT for freshmen, which is going to be at 8 a.m. in the field house. We're wishing the best of luck to the approximately 400 freshmen who are taking the first step toward college admissions, including my younger brother. So best of luck to him.
Special shout out. That's good.
Moving on to school culture and operations. In September, we have the college planning tips for seniors on the 23rd. That is from 6 to 7 p.m. in the auditorium, and that's going to help prepare the class of 2026 for their future academic goals.
I actually just came back from the meeting. September 25th, we'll be having the Steinway Piano Dedication Concert from 7 to 8 p.m. It's going to be featuring performances from our honors ensembles, including Wind Ensemble, Magical Singers, and Chamber Orchestra. And this will be taking place in the auditorium.
And then we have the Plumbers Training Institute Bridge Program. This program is going to provide seniors with a gateway into the plumbing profession. It includes courses like Intro to Tool Safety and Trade-Related Math. Students must sign up by September 26th to be part of this program that runs from 4:30 to 6:30 on Mondays and Wednesdays from October 6th through December 8th.
September 27th, the St. Jude Walk will be occurring at the Brookfield Zoo from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is a free, family-friendly event that RB is collaborating with to raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. And after the walk, people will be given free access to the zoo. And you can register on RB's website.
So did you say it was a free event for families?
Yeah.
So how do they raise money if they're not paying to participate?
It's through donations. You can donate when you register.
You can donate, but other families, okay. Do we ever, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
I didn't notice, do we advertise that to the community at large, like future Bulldogs?
It's been all over social media
Yes.
on our website.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
Well, but if you have first graders, you might not be looking on the high school website.
Yeah.
But first graders love walking through the zoo, right?
Hopefully parents will let the children know, I guess.
Yeah, that's, because I know a couple of those little kids that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd be a good opportunity. On September 29th and on the 30th, there are senior portrait retakes. On the 29th, it will be from 3 to 7:30 p.m. in the Little Theater. And on the 30th, it will be from 3 to 6:30 p.m., also in the Little Theater. And I myself am taking advantage of this opportunity because I missed the senior portraits in June.
Moving on to October. On October 2nd, we have the school spotlight on CBS, which is going to start at 6 a.m. Throughout the entire school and then go far until after school. Many organizations will be present, such as NHS, Clarion, Palms Band, and Cheer, just to name a few. The entirety of RB, Hannah, and I are all very excited to share our school with the Chicagoland area.
On October 8th, we'll be having our junior high choir festival. So choirs from our neighboring middle schools, Hauser, S.E. Gross, and Camargue, are collaborating with our RB choir to have a vocal performance of Come to Me All My Love, which is an annual tradition for the first RB choir concert of the year. And
Is
then,
that the 8th or the 2nd? I just want to confirm.
the 8th.
Okay.
And then the following day, October 9th, we'll be having the fall choir concert. This is for RB choir ensembles, chamber choir, concert chorale, and madrigals. And additionally, the SSAA and SATV acapellas will also be performing the music pieces. And I'm really looking forward to this because my sister is in concert chorale, and I'm in SSA acapella, and I'm really excited to be singing Dancing Queen. In November 11th, we're having our Veterans Day ceremony from 8:30 to 10:45 a.m. And this will be taking place in the auditorium. It's to honor our local veterans and their service to our country. Our music department, including all 3 choir ensembles and our band, will be performing the Veterans Day medley, representing each branch of the U.S. Army. Additionally, there will be the military color guard presenting their flags in the traditional flag ceremony. And as is annual, every year we have veterans being able to talk to the students themselves. Each veteran will be assigned to a classroom, and they'll be able to, students will be allowed to learn about the individuals who serve our country.
Wonderful, thank you.
Dr. Fritz, real quick, there was a question submitted. Can you please address that, the Uber question?
Yeah, so we partner with High School Nation, and thanks to Mr. Manning's effort, they gave us free Uber rides. So we distributed that to the students, I want to say last Thursday or Friday. So there's no formal partner, it was just a free gift that we shared with our students.
Okay, so that
Yes.
was my question. I thought maybe there was a agreement that I missed, but it was a giveaway. It was
No,
like
we-
a chicken
We
sandwiches.
wouldn't do that
Yes.
with
Okay.
you, Madam President.
Okay.
So it's
Thank
just a
you.
random ride for students to
Yeah, so it's a Uber teen account. You know, they have to get permission from their parents set up, but
Okay.
through those rides, they got free rides through the
It
Uber
was
teen
around
account.
homecoming season. They were doing this through all the high schools. They give out the QR code so that kids can set up a free teen Uber app so that students have safe rides to places.
Good marketing.
Right. It wasn't just with RB, it was through everyone.
And
Thank
and
you.
it's just like a couple of rides or just?
No, it's a teen setting up your teen Uber account. I think maybe
Yeah,
the
you get-
first ride's free. Or
Yeah, it's like a couple rides are free, and then you get it's a discount off of Uber Eats if you want to order food as well.
No.
On September 19th, we had our homecoming games. 4:30, we had the boys soccer teams playing, and of course our football team playing the homecoming games. They did an incredible job. They got 51-0, so go Bulldogs.
What was the overall reaction? Was it a good reaction that we did it? For some of the board members that may not be aware, the building administration came up with the idea to do the varsity soccer team first and then the varsity football team so that more kids got a chance to play like in a homecoming match. I thought was it well received from the student body or?
Yeah, there wasn't anything negative. I mean, the homecoming game is always the homecoming game. I feel like people, there's no really like big issue if there's anyone. As long as the homecoming game still happens, everyone's happy. So.
Okay.
Probably gives people a reason to come to the stadium a little bit
Yeah.
earlier, and, you know, and
Right.
see some other student
Yeah,
athletes.
that's my friends really excited to get to the soccer game early. So yeah,
I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, it was a good
I
idea.
think
That was a good idea for sure.
Okay.
And then lastly, we had the homecoming dance on the 20th, which was from 7 to 10 p.m. in the field house. Due to inclement weather, the dance was moved inside. Nonetheless, there was definitely a sizable turnout, and students enjoyed the variety of things there, such as the photo booths and 360-degree slow-mo video booth, including Hannah and me.
Did utilize it.
Very good. And do you guys have a personal opinion on indoor versus outdoor?
I personally enjoy outdoor, but it wasn't like anything horrible. It wasn't like a disaster that was inside. It was still happening. It was still lots of fun, but just being outside, I feel like is just a different type of like vibe because you're just outside in the fresh air. But either way, we kind of have to. It wasn't like we had a choice, but it was because of the weather. So
Fair point.
Did it actually rain or did it?
I'm not sure. I was inside. So.
5 o'clock, you know.
So the field would have been wet.
Yeah, and the DJ's equipment. Well, there's always that and everything. So it
The
wasn't
staging and
worth
lighting was the big, we had to make a call by like early Saturday morning. I don't think the DJ was very excited either, right, Mr. Manning? He was concerned about his equipment.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Back to you,
Dr. Freitas, you want to cover the enrollment and the class report
Yeah,
first, and then we'll bring up your team?
Yes, sir, I could go over the reports. Yes, Dr. Skikas. Good evening again, honorable board members. Now I will present the classes under 20, singletons under 20, and over the caps report. As you can see, there are 14 classes, singletons, under the caps, such as AP Music Theory.
Can I interrupt quickly? I think you're on, just make sure we get the right slide up. I think it's
38 or 9?
Keep going, Ms. Smolo, that's not the, I think it's before this.
Page 38 or 39? 39.
Right there. And just so the board's aware, while we get this information in the fall, the board in the spring approves classes under 20. It's a board policy. And so we just, as we start to get into the fall and course selection and preparing for the levy and things, we just want to show you where those classes sat to where, and these are pretty well played, pretty consistent, or even went up 1 or 2 students. But the history of this is that you approved them in the spring and you want to see where they landed in the fall. There were kids that dropped in the summer or things like that. And a singleton means there's only one class. There's not, like with English, freshman English, there might be 10 sections. Or like with all these classes, it's offered one time during the day. If it fits in your schedule, you could take it. If it doesn't fit, there's not another option. Okay, Dr. Freitas.
Now, as you can see, board members, there are 14 classes, singletons under the cap, such as AP Music Theory, French, and Pre-Algebra. There are 14 classes, singletons, over 20 but under the cap, such as AP Spanish Language, Group Fitness, Jazz Band, and Honors Jazz Ensemble. And there are 5 classes over the class cap.
So just confirming, we're not voting on this tonight. This is an update from last spring so that we can see how things have evolved.
Correct. Just an update. Yep.
So
just want to make sure anyone watching it, because I know that's always an issue that we have a lot of discussion about.
So then we'll bring this back kind of when we vote on, when we're asked to approve classes under 20 again, right? So that we kind of have an
next
idea.
spring, right?
Yeah.
This is
spring of
so we
26.
approved all these for 25, 26.
Right. So I mean, I think it would be good to refer back to it so we kind of see.
That would be old data.
Well, if every year, I mean,
Are you trying to say for a trend way?
kind of, yes, because like the calculus, A, B, B, C, that's kind of consistent. Some of them are consistent, but if we start to see something trailing off as a trend, we might have to have that difficult conversation. Can it be paired with something?
Okay.
I just think I know I'm going to print it, put it in a folder, and then when we have the conversation in spring about let's approve some of these classes that are under 20, kind of looking, are they starting to trail off?
I do think, it's a new cast of characters, obviously, every year, right? I hear what you're saying. I think I would ask that the administration, when they're bringing us the list in the spring, they're looking at, tier 3 reading. We've noticed that consistently, if there's a class that is really on the bubble, I think that's appropriate to say, identify that and flag it for us as we go through our vote in the spring.
I mean, some of these are capstone classes, like,
Well, that's my point exactly. Like, some of these are necessary and some of these are
and then some are
elective.
Yeah, and if we see electives trailing off, then, like I said, we might have to have that difficult conversation. Could they be combined?
Why is Construction Tech 2 have a smaller class cap?
Because of the equipment being used in the space.
It's a lab and safety issue. That's why we usually tend to
Consider
make
a
the lab
lab
classes smaller.
So again, I think this is a topic we'll revisit come spring.
Madam President, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
There were a few questions submitted that I'd like to address. there was a question, and I'm paraphrasing, there's a list of classes that don't have to be taken for 4 years, for a full year, do the students know? Yes, students are informed, they're informed, everything's published in school links and a curriculum, and it's part of the one-on-one counselor meetings. So you could take band from a semester and an elective, another semester.
Well, I think Dr. Freitas, I think the question, or my version of the question, and Ms. Ruska may have had a different version, was, so when we see this in the spring, it would be helpful to know AP Spanish literature, the March enrollment was not a good example. If you take a single year-long class, and it's 20 in the spring, it's 17 in the fall. I guess I'm asking, is there additional attrition in the spring when it actually runs? Am I making sense?
That wasn't the question.
People are dropping the class?
Right, they're choosing to not take it as a full year, they're taking it as the one semester.
But that's not this chart, and that question is not on this chart, because I asked that question. This chart is classes we approved for the full
Correct.
year.
Yes.
And so I'll just look at like Chamber Choir 1 and Chamber Choir 2, because they have the same name. I'll just grab those. So if next year we're asked to approve the class and they only have 10 in each, well, that would be that there's less taking that, and you might want to ask the question, could they be combined? And I don't know that. We might say, no, they can't. But then if in the third year, now we've got 8 of each, there would be a trend.
Mm-hmm.
So these are classes, I believe, that go for a whole year.
Remember, this is the first year that we're implementing the music part where we took the number of students and divided by 3rd. We lowered the classroom limit, and so that's why you'll see, like, if you look, the 5 over the cap are music classes, or 6 over the cap, and then there's like 6 that are under the cap. But that's how that's where we landed after talking with LT, hearing some of the feedback from our music parents. So like they knew, like, hey, we're going to run marching band at 37 because we want to run honors at 14. Like, they made some of those decisions to run these classes. So we have no issues with those at this point. So I wouldn't look at it as any trend of things dropping off, or this is the first year for a lot of those.
Okay, I mean, and it could be anything. I just picked those 2 courses because they have the same name.
Yeah.
If you're going to combine, sometimes, like we have photo 1, 2, 3, and 4.
No, we made all of our music classes semesters though now.
Okay.
Yes.
Remember, we had that meeting in the spring so that kids could fit an extra music class in maybe one semester and not be forced to take it for a year. So that's the only reason why it says S1 and S2.
So, okay, but on this chart, like photo 2, 3, and 4, that would run for the full year.
No, those are semester
No,
classes.
semester.
Those are semesters?
Mm-hmm.
If it helps, I'll just jump in.
Yes, come on.
Next year,
Yeah.
I will indicate a column if it's a semester-long class or if it's a year-long class.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because I thought it was levels. I thought that was photo level 1, level.
Right. No, because even in the curriculum guide, you'll see there's 8 or 10 classes that you could theoretically take one semester, not the full year. I'm trying to understand to what extent people are taking advantage of that. I think Laura's question is different, but that's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, so that question I asked, it wasn't related to this chart, but it was related to how you asked it. So now we put it in the curriculum guide that there are some classes that in the past you had to take for the whole year.
Correct.
Now there's the
semester.
option.
Yes.
Yeah, had nothing to do with this chart, but that new thing in the curriculum guide, if people were taking advantage, like you said.
Dr. Freitas, want to go into the transfer?
Yeah, Dr. Jim said there were other two questions, if I could, that were just by the board member. One, the department heads questions, they'll be invited for future meetings. I know they presented before. And then another question submitted related to classes. It was related to how can we offer more languages, are there online opportunities? So really to make that happen, I mean, we look to hire staff with multiple endorsements. I mean, that's helpful, right? If someone could teach a language and teach math or teach a physical education course. So that's what, we look for. I mean, we offer 2, Spanish and French. Spanish is a prominent language, very popular here in America and this state, and it's very useful. Students do have, right, according to board policy, they do have an option to do, an online language course, which we would honor credit for. But I mean, we're open to all opportunities here at RB.
We've had this discussion a couple times now, though, at the board level. There's not enough interest to hire a full-time teacher in another language. So where we're struggling is, and where some of our colleagues have dropped some of their languages because the same thing, you may get 1 or 2 sections worth of Mandarin, but unless that teacher has multiple certifications, they're not going to come and work for part-time. And so that's where we've struggled a little bit, and that's why we've had this discussion. We've looked into this, Kylie and Beth and Dr. Fress, on a couple occasions now.
Because I know I asked that for a future topic, and I asked, are there high schools that, you can't have a teacher for every language. In the past, maybe you did. You had Russian. There was a time we had Russian, we had German, we had Czech, we had, all these languages. But now I'm just wondering if there are high schools that are using kind of like an online university, and you could have one faculty member, I don't know if there's an endorsement language, that can facilitate this learning. So if you had somebody who wanted to take Mandarin for their 4 years through high school, could it be facilitated with somebody who has an endorsement in language? Where
There's not a general endorsement in language, though. It has to be in a content like Spanish, French.
Okay.
So where we struggled is we'd have to pay an online, and a kid would sit there and just take an online course. And we do have that ability under policy. If a kid wants to take an online course, they can take. We've had a student do German.
Okay.
So we do offer that, and it is in the curriculum guide and in our board policy.
So we do have something, because to be a competitive high school, I just think that we would want to have more languages available, or if students want to take more languages.
They can. It's available.
Yeah, it's available through online services, that we would honor credits for. It's board policy, I'd also like to add, in the SELA biliteracy program that we have here, students are able to show proficiency beyond the languages we offer. We have students recognized in Polish and Lithuanian. So we make efforts to acknowledge our linguistically diverse population. It's just as it was stated here. You got to find that unicorn, right? That person that can teach and be endorsed in multiple areas. If not, it just becomes extremely difficult to, find someone to teach those other classes and bring those languages here.
Just anecdotal, I know of a high school that's having a multilingual family tailgate at their football game. And that's interesting. This is where we're moving to now, where families do speak more than one language at home. And, they could celebrate that. So you're nodding your head, so you speak more than one language at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm half Indian on my mom's side, so I learned English and Gujarati, which is an Indian language, at the same time. When I spoke English when I was younger, I had an Indian accent when I was really young. And so I speak 2 languages at home. My mom speaks, she's fluent in English, but we do speak Gujarati and English. And then my entire mom's side. So.
Yeah, both my parents are Algerian, so at home we speak Darja, which is an Algerian language. And I've been learning it more as I've grown older and I go visit Algeria, but yeah, we speak.
So I love that. So our heritage was Bohemian Czech, and we lost that. But now I'm glad your generation, you're not losing it. You're retaining your heritage and your languages. And the kid's father who passed, he was Spanish, and so they retained some of that. But there are families speaking 2-3 languages at home, and as Americans, that's an area for growth for us. And so thank you for helping lead the way, helping us follow your example. Thank you.
Dr. Freyes, we got to get a lot to get through here.
Yes, and that concludes, honorable board members, the classes under 20 report. Moving on to the transfer student report. This year, we had 48 students with 4 IEPs transfer in, and 49 students, 19 with an IEP, transfer out. There was no gain in students. The total enrollment in September was 1647, with the total projected 1672, which made a difference of about 25 students. And I want everyone to know that staffing was not impacted. So even though there was a drop in students, staffing was not impacted. You can see the table there, right? You can see the historical data, board members, and you can see the data that I just referenced of this year.
So quick reminder, the board will get their staffing report in November, which has happened annually since I got here. You get that report in November, and also enrollment projections from our feeder schools. Kristen's done a great job projecting to total enrollment. We've kind of gotten it down to pretty much to a science. This is the first year we've missed by 20 students. Last year, I think we were within like 1 or 2 students.
I was going to say, this is an aberration,
Right.
and it's still a small number.
And it's missing on the high side, so that we have room for transfers. It's not missing on the low side where we're scurrying in August to find another teacher. And the way the board should think about this is basically every 30 kids represents 1 full-time teacher. So if anybody wanted to say, are you slightly overstaffed, but that helps us also keep enrollment small in class sizes. It helps us keep staffing if we get an influx of transfers. What also impacts transfers and enrollment a little bit is we start early in August. More and more schools are starting early. Even CPS started before Labor Day, but we still get a lot of transfers in mid to late August. And so we have to make sure we have seats available for those kids to come in. So we put those in a lot of our core classes, basic English, basic math, regular, so that we have room for kids transferring in. There were a couple questions. I thought there was one question.
Yeah, there were a few questions, Dr. So there was one question about where the students going, and who are the students coming in. I mean, they're going everywhere, public, private, out-of-state, international, and we're receiving students from private schools, public schools, neighboring states, the city of Chicago. So those are students. There's some kids that are staying home, for homeschooling. That's a right that many parents are exercising. We've lost students from our grade levels. We've gained students from our grade levels. But again, the more important thing about these numbers is that it hasn't impacted our staffing.
Thank you, Dr. Freitas. There was one other question submitted that was about the enrollment, but we'll get that in November. But since my time here, we've been pretty hovering around between 1547 and 1647 over 15 years.
Yeah, and I was telling Deanna, when I first came on the board, that's way before your time, we were just, I want to say under 1,200, maybe at 1,200, and we saw the number 1,600, and we didn't think we'd ever get to 1,600. But here we are at 1,600, and we fit very well. We're very comfortable with our 1,600, and we've been there for a long time. But I see a little dip. I was just wondering, are we going to see a couple-year forecast, or?
I think what Dr. Skink has just said is we'll get that in November.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So you need all the feeder schools.
You could be able to look back at last year's
Yeah.
report, and it shows you the next couple of years.
Next couple of years, yeah.
I mean, the trend does show a dip going down because of birth rate and enrollment in the feeder school. So I think we won't see it down to 1,100, but I would anticipate when we see that November report, it'll show we're on the downward enrollment trend.
Slight trend.
Yeah, I shouldn't say, it's not significant, but,
Nope.
but a little lightning.
All right, the next report Dr. Freitas is going to call up his administrative team that is with us tonight, but this is an annual report that you get in September or October. The last 2 years we've done it in September, but these are performance benchmarks that the Board of Education identified several years ago, and this is kind of what we use. These are all on the school report card, as well as these are best practices of data points to be tracking for your school or your high school. And so these are what you'll be reporting on: average daily attendance, student engagement, which is participation in athletics, extracurriculars, freshman on track, college career readiness, your graduation cohort, your four-year graduation rate, and then advanced placement data, which was requested. And we usually tie that in either now or in October. So, Dr. Freitas, the floor is yours.
Yes, first I would like to introduce Assistant Principal of Student Affairs, Mr. Dave Manning, and Assistant Principal for Athletics, Mr. Phil Torres. Come on up, gentlemen.
Good evening. Tonight, we're going to provide an update on the key performance indicators associated with the Office of Student Affairs from last school year. My report will address two primary areas: average daily attendance and student engagement in extracurricular activities, which includes our clubs as well as athletics. In kind of preparing for this report, we looked at our local data in context, and so we looked at like the trends in the state, and where the state is experiencing kind of a noticeable increase in chronic truancy. So that would be truancy of more than 10%, 18 or so days-ish, if you go by the school calendar. And so they went from 16.8% in 2018, fast forward to last school year, to 26.3%. In that same period, the state average daily attendance declined from 93.9 to 91.6%. That's the average for the state. So compare that with our environment here at RB, our chronic truancy rate is at 12.5%, which is really close to where we were at last school year. I think we were at 12.3. Our overall average daily attendance is at 92.3. Again, really similar, a tenth of a point off or so from last school year. The state report card will reflect around the 93%. They take the three highest averages and compile that, so that will be around 93 for the last school year, excuse me. September, I'm digging into the data a little bit more. September and January were our lowest attended months, largely due to excused absences, illnesses, medical appointments, personal reasons, mental health needs. I think whenever we come back from an extended break, whether it's summer vacation or summer break for the kids, or we're coming back off of the holidays, you put a lot of students together, we're going to see some sicknesses, and that usually presents itself late September, early October, and then the same thing late January into February. So that was definitely a trend that will continue here. I don't see a big discrepancy between demographics and looking at that whatsoever. If you get into some of the grade level stuff, we saw an increase in mental health days. We reported out on that in the summer. Mental health days were up, largely due to our senior students calling in and using those mental health days. And as they call in, they can tell us a variety of different excuses. Mental health days was the one that was more widely used last year. There's some protocols built in with our department and with Ms. Augustine's department on follow-up with those when they do call in. So that's being handled. However, it's one of those areas that now is an excused absence per the state that does impact our attendance. So,
Dave, was 2021, that was our COVID year, correct? Where half the kids are in person, half are online?
Yeah, and we had really good attendance that year.
I was going to say 96, but I mean, the rest seemed to be 92 to 93.
Yeah, we kind of leveled off the last 3 years around 92, 92 and a half, which coincides with what we're seeing from other schools in the state as well.
But I think if you look at the 2021, not that I think I want you to still pursue this, we want to get more closer to 93, but I do think since 2021, we have encouraged kids now to stay home when you're feeling sick and have a fever or have the sniffle, right? Where in the past, it used to be a trend of tough it out, you still go to school, right?
Yeah.
There's a new trend in schools where now if you do have a low-grade fever or you're not feeling, or you have a cold or a sore throat, they would prefer you to stay home.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of a strain of COVID that came through too last year, and so doctors' offices are continuing to recommend if you have symptoms, stay home and things like that. So that does bring our average rate down a little bit. Another thing that we use Panorama, the platform that the Student Services Offices use for interventions. We also use it for a variety of attendance interventions and digging into the data there. And some of the stuff that came out there was our junior class, our current senior class had around 120 or so students had less than a 90% attendance rate. So that's something that we're earmarking and looking at heavily this school year. An additional data point is 48 of our 140-ish students on free and reduced lunch also had a 90% or below attendance average. So those are two data sets that we're really focusing on. I know there's a question about, the ongoing meetings that we're having as a department. That's what we're looking at. We're using more of an expansive data set to really hone in on interventions that we're connecting with students on. Just going into that, some of the things that we're utilizing this year, again, I talked about Panorama. They've implemented some AI within the program now, and so it gives you a live insight to data that we can kind of look at emerging trends. So you can look at what's happening as of last week, as of this week, and it kind of shows you on a graph, which is really nice. And those conversations are held on Mondays in association with our attendance office, with our health office, and our student services office as well. We're transitioning from Skyward to our Parent Square in regards to attendance updates for families and parents. If there's a cut, if there's a missed attendance mark, if there's something like that or a tardy, those are going to be coming out through Parent Square. Because of the live one-to-one connection we have with Skyward, it's an easier platform and it goes directly to our parents. I know some might be annoyed with a lot of the communication coming through in like the text format, but it does produce results. Our parents are responding to that, and I think that's going to be a nice way for us to key up on, hey, your student is missing or didn't call in or what have you. So that's going to be switched over here in the near future from the Skylerts to Parent Square. And I should remind parents too, it's a great time to come to that meeting tomorrow night in the auditorium just to learn more about the application. I highly suggest everyone download the application on their electronic device, and then you can kind of pick and choose. If you don't want all the communication coming through as a text format, you can push it into your email account as well. Lastly here, we continue our cross-collaboration with our departments. We're looking at our Tapestry program, the interventions there, working with our health office, our student services office, and those all go to support, and benefit, I guess, getting students here and ready to go and ready to learn. So that is an overview of our attendance. Do you have any questions?
There were none submitted on attendance. You want to go into engagement, you and Mr. Torres?
Okay, so engagement. This is our second performance indicator that impacts our office here. We experienced a highly successful year, achieving around a 78% overall participation rate, which is the highest it's been since I've been here, so going on 11 years. And this includes any student that was involved in a club, an activity, or any type of athletic program. The first chart there on the report provides a 3-year overview of student involvement. Noticeably, just looking at kids that were involved in athletics. Now, they could be involved in an activity. They could be involved in the athletic area as well. But in looking at that, the participation rate grew. Sorry, I lost my place here. 1 second. Let me back up. So the freshman participation rate increased from 79% in 23-24 to 87% last year. So that was a significant gain there. We saw a little bit of a decline in our second and third activity participation rates. But overall, every grade level did have a significant increase, minus the senior class, which went from 71 to 67. But overall, enrollment showed decent for activities. I think what we saw is a big gain in athletics, so we're kind of on a teeter-totter. If it goes higher on their end, it might go lower on the activity end. But overall, what we want to see is that final number, that final percentage, and that was 78%. And that goes to a lot of different offerings that we're continuing to provide. Last year we started the Auto Tech Club, which they got some exposure at an event at the technical, I don't know what college or what have you, or school up in Lisle. They're looking to compete this year. We have a Future Educators Club that started last year, an Asian Student Association Club, and we're off and running with finalizing some activity packets for the board to see next meeting about what was discussed today, the Future Health Professionals Club, that's HOSA, and a new Science Club. So all these are just broadening opportunities for our kids and helping sustain that high percentage rate that we have here on the activity side.
Mr. Torres, what about sports?
On athletics, you can see in the chart that we've increased, and some of that is credited to the addition of bowling for boys and girls. We also added a level for girls volleyball, and then we did see numbers rise in boys water polo. We were able to have 2 levels for the first time in a long time, and we were able to add a freshman B level in boys volleyball as well this past school year. So the good news is, and obviously we want to try to get those our hooks in those freshmen right away and get them involved in something. And so that 87% rate is reflected in it, and we were able to sustain those levels with it. The thing I'm really excited about is, yes, the one sport participation goes down if you look at the chart, but I am, because it's going against the grain, I'm beyond thrilled that our numbers spiked with 2-sport athletes and 3-sport athletes, because I think our kids in society is specializing too soon. And so I'm really pumped, and that's thanks and credit to our coaches for accepting the challenge of letting kids play all sports and letting the kids engage, because this is one of the rare times in their lives that they can play 3 sports. They can and do 2 more clubs and get involved, and they're going to blink and it's going to be over, and then they're going to say, I wish I could have, or I should have done this. So getting the kids involved is really good, and I'm really excited about the 2-sport and 3-sport numbers, and hopefully we can keep those kids engaged as they move up the levels and move up grade levels as well. In terms of conference, I know that was a big discussion last year. We found ourselves a home. Everything is going swimmingly with the Upstate 8 conference. Our girls golf team just repeated as back-to-back champs in conference yesterday. So everything is going really well, and I know Dave can appreciate too that when we have challenges or we run into things, we have 13 other schools and colleagues that we can reach out to and be like, hey, what happens when what'd you do when this happened? And so it's definitely created and extended a network that we can rely on. You'll see that we have it's a ways off, but it'll probably be here before we know it. Our future Bulldog Night is scheduled for January 14th. Where all our sports and club sponsors will be there for our incoming Bulldogs. And then I know Dr. Freitas already mentioned it, but thanks to the board for the help and our sports boosters for the weight room. It is a phenomenal space. If you haven't been down there yet, make sure you try to get down there. Our teams, it's creating good problems because we have to schedule because everybody wants to be down there now. And we're seeing the benefit of that throughout our sports.
I have a question about back to the extracurricular activities. Is there a distinction made between, there are certain I'm thinking in the music department, there are certain classes that actually have extracurricular components, meaning there's concerts for madrigals, there's concerts for the orchestra, plus there are also club orchestras and club choirs. Is that distinction made?
Yes.
Is there a difference between the classes and the extracurricular?
Yes, if there's a tie-in with curriculum, that's not included on the activity side, but your orchestra, club, your mariachi, a cappella, I'm trying to think, not rock band.
What about the play and musical and things like that?
Play and musical, no curriculum content connected with those, and so that would be on the activity side.
Got it.
And they've been doing a phenomenal job double casting, and that's really brought our numbers up as well. Yeah. And mariachi, by the way, too, I think we had around 20 or so. So that's been an added bonus as well.
20 this year? Mr. Beasley?
Mr. Beasley.
I think that addressed the questions for these two, correct?
Correct.
So you want to call up?
Thank you, Mr. Torres. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, guys.
Now I'd like to introduce our Director of Special Education, Mr. Kevin Baldis, Assistant Principal for Student Services, Ms. Beth Augustine, and Assistant Principal for Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Kylie Lindquist, who will report on the next performance indicators.
You're on this side. I'm on this side. I know. That's throw me off every year. This is the way we do it. Hi.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
So I will start with freshmen on track. I did leave the summary of what Freshman on Track is for our new board members, but I'm understanding. So you can see that we had an increase this year in our Freshman on Track, going up 0.38% from the previous school year. In August, and looking at these numbers, we had 11 students who were considered not on track, and I give you a little brief summary of who those students are, 3 of them having IEPs and breakdown female to male, and then diversity breakdown as well. It's kind of split pretty evenly. Included the action steps that we will continue for our current freshman class to ensure that they're remaining on track. I did look, we currently have 398 students, and look to see where failures are right now. And if we were to take a number right now, we would have 9 students off track with a 97.7% of our students on track. So let's try to maintain that, because then it'll be higher than our freshmen on track for this year. And I think looking from 2021 to 2025, each year we're kind of growing a little bit or staying consistent. So I think the interventions that we have in place seem to be working in the way that we are monitoring students. I would say,
it doesn't freshman on track, it doesn't only focus on the ones like critical, but it focuses to that whole, the literature around that, what I've read and heard out of the University of Chicago, is it focuses onto that whole experience. If a freshman is engaged in activities freshman year, they're more likely to be engaged in activities sophomore and junior. And the freshman has some challenging classes. So their whole high school experience, the whole continuum, I think it's more than just, we have to watch, those that are struggling to make it through freshman year. But if we want to see students maybe challenging themselves with an advanced placement class senior year, that's going to start freshman year, right? And I think we spent a lot of time just focusing on, the student that is really struggling.
I think for the purpose of this report, because it's something that we are required to, it's on our school report card.
Yeah, this is a state report card item.
Correct, yeah, I think we are looking at students holistically and looking at our high-flying students and their needs, and students who are struggling at risk, and every student in between, and making sure that they are getting a comprehensive high school experience. And monitoring, again, Dave spoke to attendance, we're monitoring grades, we are encouraging students to get involved, we're looking at students that have some mental health concerns. So it's looking at the whys. In this report specifically, they're not doing well academically. And again, when the counselors receive DNF reports, it's not just on core classes. They're seeing if they're failing an applied arts class. They're seeing if they're failing their BE classes. But for the sake of this report, it's just those core classes.
So what would have to happen to say that a freshman is not on track?
D or F.
Put them
D's
in
or
that
F's.
category.
D's or F's.
If we're talking for the purpose of this report,
Yeah,
they have to have, in order to be on track, you have to have earned 5 credits at the end of your freshman year and no more than 1 failure in a core class, which is English, math, science, or social studies.
But they could fail one and not be correct?
Well, so I am pulling reports at the end of every semester and looking to see if they failed one class, and then we're putting interventions in place. So yes, they could fail one course in a core area and not be considered off track. That's what the state is looking at.
Okay, so for this report card data, that is the state report.
Correct.
Yes. That's just, so there could be more students, according to us, but we're just looking at students who didn't make all 5 credits and have failed more than.
For the purpose of this report, but we're looking at any student that's failed, whether they're freshman, sophomore, or junior, and encouraging them to go to summer school, sending emails, sending letters to try to have them make up any failed courses during summer school, so that by the time they get to a senior year, they're not forced to take multiple credit recovery classes.
So I think when we get the panorama reports, is it panoramic?
Panorama.
I think a lot of that information you're asking about is in those discussions we've had with this team, right? About people who are not succeeding completely, but they're not necessarily in this freshman off-track grouping.
Well, I think it sheds some light when we talk about this report, freshmen on track, and if we look at the not on track, we're really looking at kind of an egregious place, because you're failing 2 then, right? 2 core classes, and you've not made 5 credits. that's how you're getting flagged for the state report.
Correct. And the fact that we only had 11 students, and really when we look at those students, a lot of it is due to lack of attendance.
Okay, so then there could be students that are not identified in this report that failed one course.
Yeah, no, and I'm saying, I think what I'm hearing the team say is that they're looking at those other collective groups regularly, and we see some of that. I mean, it's kind of not truly a board report, but we see it through the panorama
We follow it in the
discussions.
small teams. There's a lot of interventions in place. That's not something that the board would get into at the board level.
Right.
From the state report card level, and for the purpose of this report, which is also reflected on the state, we've done up.
Yeah, I mean, this is really looking at students who are really struggling on this state freshman on track.
Did you want to add anything, Mr. Aldis?
Yeah, it's, even like electives and those types of classes, that any student not passing the class is not okay. So we're still going to try to put interventions in place, especially when we're trying to talk about freshmen on track. From my perspective, make sure that they're placed in proper classes before they come in. We do 8th grade transition meetings, we meet with the feeder schools and make sure they're embedded into classes that are appropriate and at their learning level, so that they can succeed day one when they come in and they already know who their support team is. But no, I agree with you. We're not going to just let failures go because it doesn't impact the state. We're still going to put interventions in place for kids that fail any class.
This is not the only data point you're looking
Correct.
at.
No.
I think that's the bottom line, and what you're asking, right?
Yeah, so it definitely opens up the, it opens the discussion of freshman track wider. So the state report card is identified really like crisis level, you've got that cutoff point there. But then as you're articulating, there's like different tiers of freshmen, some freshmen that are not at that crisis level where they're gonna make this report, but they're still struggling, and you've got different levels. And so in our discussion here, I don't know that that's always been clear, where we said, we have some that are really critical, they failed 2 main courses, and that would be on the report. But then there's some that are just kind of on the bottom, and we're worried about them. There's this whole band, we don't know how big that is, but it's on your radar. And then there's another band. It's really a more robust discussion that I think.
Well, I think
we're-
the next performance indicator ties directly into
Yeah.
freshman track and graduation rate.
Yes,
So that makes sure that all bands are covered.
yes, because
Cover that.
ultimately, the goal is to have them graduate on time with post-secondary plans. So I think that those, and they failed 2 classes, but it's a credit. It's not that they haven't failed 2 credits, it's a credit, and it's so doable to get caught up. And I think that's making sure that we have eyes on these students to ensure that they're getting caught up and not kicking the can down the road and doing it their senior year. Graduation rate, we increased a little bit again from 24-25. Our graduation rate was 94.85. The state considered 21 students as non-grads, and of those 21, 11 of them were special education students. 8 of those students met their graduation requirement but returned for transition services this year. And then 3 of those 11 are actually the class of 2026, but for whatever reason, when the students enter our early school year, they consider them as starting a year earlier. Don't know why. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Baldus can speak to that. But
Usually those kids are kids that have IEPs, that have extended school year in their IEP. They need to start before our calendar year of the next following school year, so they go on our report card as being basically early entrance, early enrollment.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
So I think the important thing to highlight to the board, the yellow highlight on the report of the 96.8, that's our true graduation. So if you think about freshman on track, we're at 97, this is 96. Like, what we have started to do now with these reports is we can identify who the students are who are not on track, and as Beth has listed here and worked with Kevin, we knew where they were in 2022 and got them on track to graduate in 2023.
Yeah, so I'm
That's a
actually
real
keeping a
big celebration point.
spreadsheet of all the names of the students who were not on track for a particular school year and then comparing them to the graduation data. And so as Dr. Skink has pointed out, like back in August of 2022, when I gave this report, it was 96.24, and you can see that we are like right at where our graduation rate is. But of those 15 students that were not on track at that time, 14 of them graduated. So they're not necessarily the same students. And then I know I missed the curriculum advisory committee that was last Thursday, and I know a question was brought up, like, of the 8 students that didn't actually graduate, was there any real patterns? And there really wasn't. There were a couple of special education students that had been outplaced. We had students that decide to go to an online school are considered like a drop because they're not actually found somewhere in the state. We had one student that was a no-show at the beginning of the school year of her 11th grade year. Like there's just issues that come up, but there was not any particular pattern. But what I will say is none of these students were in our building that we were providing interventions for who didn't graduate. So if we can keep them here, they will be able to graduate on time. So I think we didn't have any of our students that stayed all the way through senior year and then decided, you know what, I'm just going to drop out at that point.
I mean, that's huge. So you're saying that students that were identified as not being on track,
yes,
4 years later,
yes,
you can attest they graduated.
Correct.
14 out of 15.
14 out of 15.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's a huge win. That's the white, W flag. I mean, that's
yes,
huge to say, and so that number, like you said, other things happen in life.
Yes.
The other 8 are coming from a different pool. Yeah.
I think it speaks to the dedication of the staff and the teachers to those kids, identifying them early and then really building in supports and strategies to get them back where they need to be so they can graduate with their class and move on to that post-high school outcome, whatever they choose for it to be.
I also included new on this report our FAFSA completion, 81%. So ISAC should recognize this again as silver. That was from the class of 2025. Included the clearinghouse data that's directly from school links, demographics of students that at this time were not attending college or trade school. That certainly could change depending on the clearinghouse numbers that come in over time. Identified a number of students attending 2-year colleges, and then our top 4-year colleges where students attended in ranking order. And then just the continued action steps. Again, I feel like we have, it's a kind of a well-oiled machine with our graduation rate and really tracking students. We identify students at the very beginning of the school year who are at risk, ensuring that they're part of our credit recovery program, ensuring that they have the supports that they need in order to be successful, and listed those action steps. I think there was a question.
Yes, there's a question back on the percentage of students that graduated in 2025 and go in the transition program. So of those 11, 8 completed their graduation requirements and they continue on to our transition program here at RB. This means there's about 18% of the graduating students with IEPs that are now participating here in transition at RB. Consistent with historical ranges from 15 to 18% over the last 4 years. Went back and ran those numbers. Eligibility for post-high school transition programs is determined by each student's individual educational team, an IEP team with their parents and related service staff. Students who participate in this program typically require intensive special education services, and they are not yet able to independently access employment, education, or daily living skills is where that continuation of special ed up to the end of that 22-year age. We have some kids that leave earlier, just say young adults. I still do that because they're all my kids, but they're young adults, and they stay around for maybe 2 years. It all depends on what that plan is that the team sets with them and with their parents.
So that 15-18% is pretty consistent.
Yes.
It's not nothing.
Yeah, and
it's not
actual
growing.
numbers, it goes from like 9 to 7
okay.
to 8 each year.
Thank you.
Yes.
So the students that stay for extended services, when they finish those services, then does that come back into our graduation?
Yes, that's why
That's the adjusted cohort on the top.
That's what I thought,
Yep.
okay.
What if they graduate, if they choose to take their diploma?
The board determined, I think you were part of the decision several years ago, that we're going to use the highlighted graduation rate so that we can see exactly how many kids finished in 4 years.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that's what we are still, and we acknowledge them on because I think in the past, if they graduate, if they walk the stage to get the diploma, it could jeopardize their.
They receive a certificate of attendance, so we recognize them as a certificate of attendance, and we hold their diploma until they choose to take it.
Yeah, so they take that diploma, then they are no longer eligible in the eyes of the state of Illinois to continually receive special education services. So we're very, you are not to give them that diploma if they are.
That's why we're only allowed to give them an empty case.
Yes.
Everyone only gets an
Pretty
empty
much,
case.
yes.
Correct. Just so you guys both know, you're not getting your diploma on graduation.
I'll hand it to you as you walk
Yes.
off the stage. And then I just will mention the PACE framework. I included the link for the Illinois Post-Secondary and Career Expectations that this year we were required to have our framework on the website. We adopted a framework, and this is ensuring that students are exposed to career exploration and development, post-secondary education and preparation, and financial aid and literacy. These were all part of our student services program. It's just now put in a nice little chart for everyone to recognize and see on our website. And then I know there was some conversation about scholarships for seniors, and I did want to highlight that the scholarships are available on our website all year, every year, and that during senior meetings, we do highlight scholarship opportunities in August when the counselors meet with their seniors in small groups. And then we highlighted it again in February in meetings in English classes where we're trying to ensure that we have the maximum number of FAFSA completion applications. And then we go around the cafeteria and during College and Career Week and try to promote scholarships then. And I will say, this is my 22nd year. I've seen a decline in the number of scholarship applications over the last several years, just a sort of a lack of willingness to write another essay or to complete another, another application. It's almost like some of the students are just at burnout at that point where they're kind of done. So I did want to highlight that we really do try our best to promote the scholarship opportunities here.
Kylie, last but not least.
Performance Indicator 5, College and Career Readiness as measured by the PSAT and SAT. As a reminder, and for those of you who are new to this report, the class of 2025 data is based on the SAT that those students took during their junior year, and we report out for the purposes of this report only on students who spent freshman year through junior year with us, because we are looking at our programming and how we are able to prepare students for college and career readiness. I think it's also important to note that this is the last class that we will be able to present SAT data for, because our class of 2026 took the ACT last year in their junior year. So this report is going to look different next year with some baseline ACT data. So the first thing I wanted to mention, there was a question, and I think it's easiest to reference it at the beginning, because the question was, when did the class of 2025 take the PSAT, which would have been essentially their placement exam, in reference to the pandemic, and that really tells an interesting story. The normal timeline for students to take their placement exam when they are coming to RB is actually in the fall of their 8th grade year. Because of when we build our schedule and when we do our staffing, we need to get those numbers in the fall so that we're confirming placements at Future Bulldog Night in January and February, and then Beth begins building the schedule generally around spring break. For the class of 2025, they experienced the world shutting down when they were in 7th grade. So when they came to school in 8th grade at the 2020 school year, we didn't give them a placement exam. We could not at that point, due to the pandemic, have 300 kids in any place taking a placement exam. So for the class of 2025, their placement was made based on their MAP scores from the junior highs and middle schools that they came from, as well as really heavy-handed teacher placement and teacher recommendation. So this cohort of students was not given what we consider a placement exam until 11 months after normal, which would have been their freshman year during September. So the numbers are certainly, there's a potential that that's skewed in terms of the growth because students may have grown, they may have dipped in those 11 months. We're not really sure. But what we do know for a fact is that students in the class of 2025, the students based on this report, had their instruction interrupted during 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So they were sent home in 7th grade. They were in some sort of hybrid, remote, I'm not sure what was the case in 8th grade. And then when they came to us in 21, 22, that is when things were starting to be open, but you had a definite shift in education of like, don't push them too hard. They just went through a pandemic, right? They're really rattled, they're traumatized, right? So thinking about what students learn in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, they learn student skills, they learn productive struggle, they learn how to handle rigor as it gets higher. That's going to translate into their scores. Mr. Mannon was laughing at me earlier because one of my division heads made a really awesome chart that just kind of tracks pandemic in general. And so we are right now working with students who in their middle school years and beginning of their high school were impacted. And as we go down, we are not even close to the students who were supposed to be learning how to read when they were sent home. So we will not be unaffected by pandemic interruption of learning until the class of 2025. The class of 2024 is the, 2034.
I was going to say, right?
2035. It's a long day. The class of 2034 is the last class that has some sort of tethers in the pandemic. They were starting kindergarten in that 21-22 school year when we were sort of easing back in. But when you look at students who were interrupted learning during kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, those are going to be our classes of 2030, 2031. You are going to see significant impacts on the stretch of their learning. We're seeing it now in behaviors, in student skills, in students who are ready or not ready to do homework. So there is kind of an interesting backstory to when that PSAT was taken. This report takes a look at a few different numbers. It looks at first in that figure 1, which of the students met benchmark in either SAT, ERW, the evidence-based reading and writing, or math. We had 342 students who we were measuring because they were with us from that freshman to junior year. 66% of them met benchmark when they took their SAT in the evidence-based reading or writing. 46% of them met benchmark in math when they took their SAT that April of their junior year. Figure 2 then takes a look at what is the number of students who didn't meet benchmark but met the expected growth. And the expected growth is listed there. For ERW, it's 90 points. For math, it's 100 points. So you can see that 12% or 14 students didn't meet benchmark but made their target growth. In ERW and in math, 33 students or 18% of those students who didn't meet benchmark met their growth targets. That pulls you to the next page, which is the 3rd graph, which simply gives you the overall picture. Of the class of 2025, what number or what percent of students either met benchmark as they should have or met the growth target that College Board would say is appropriate if they weren't at benchmark. So you can see that that's 70% in ERW and 56% in math. And you certainly have seen, as you're looking at those classes, there's the 5-year snapshot there, you certainly are seeing where you can see sort of those things trail off. It's hard to compare class to class because it's like comparing apples or oranges. Kids are different, but I think that when you take a look at where students were being impacted by pretty significant interruptions in learning, that's going to translate somewhere. It's going to translate in how they know how to behave, how they know how to take tests, all of those things. So what we can do is we can just continue to grow, and we continue to get better, and we can continue to say, okay, we want more than 56% of our students either meeting benchmark or growth targets in math. So what are we gonna do to get there? We started the work last year as the state of Illinois transitioned us to the ACT of taking all of our curriculum in math and science and English and world history, world languages, and social studies, and looking at what we currently do in our classroom against ACT standards so that we're starting to line up that standards work. This year, we're going in deeper and we're looking at what are our assessment practices. Are we asking students the right questions to be able to get accurate data on them, to be able to support them with tiered interventions? So last year, we began the work of realigning because the state's kind of switched that final, the finish line on us, and we will continue that work this year. I've shared some of the breakdown there in terms of what the student population looks like so that it's very clear to the board. We are looking at all of the factors that might be playing into what this looks like. And at the school level, much to similar to Beth talking about freshmen on track, we know the kids by name. We can find those kids, we can put them in interventions that we've created over the past couple of years so that they are sitting in a classroom and a teacher is working with them on their skills and on their assessments for their classes, because we know that the best way that students will perform on state tests is for them to be in rigorous coursework and be caught up and be able to pay attention in class and learn from their teachers.
So kind of, we keep using the buzzword meeting benchmark.
Mm-hmm.
People buy homes, they look at this report card data. They're gonna pay the taxes in this neighborhood, they're gonna come to the school, meet this benchmark. I think there needs to be a shared understanding what we mean by that. When I look that up and what I've always assumed that to mean, that would mean that if a student that the students who come to the school, if they're meeting benchmark, they should be able to pass a college class without, and again, one of the definitions I looked up said significant remediation.
Mm-hmm.
Like they should not have to take a pre-math class to get into the math class, to start their college education.
Correct.
I know as a parent that would infuriate me if I had to pay for classes to prepare my kid to start his college career. Is that what we're talking about, meeting benchmark? And I think as a board, I think that's something that is important to us. We want our students to graduate prepared. And when I look at different definitions, it's not only for four-year colleges, but it's also trade school. It's for whatever post-high school experience they're going. It meant that they develop the thinking skills while they're here to be successful after high school.
I think that's an interesting point. When you talk about college and career readiness benchmarks, that's a number that is set. So the state of Illinois says 480, 530, these are the benchmarks. This is what means a student is college and career ready by the definition from the College Board or from ACT or from the state of Illinois. When you are talking about what we do as a school, where we bring in the soft skills that students learn in their applied arts classes, their fine arts classes, things that aren't tested, their productive struggle, their well-roundedness in terms of what clubs they're involved in, can they think critically, that's more the picture of a total student. Because college and career readiness benchmarks are great, and yes, we want students to meet those. But does it mean that if a kid was, for whatever reason, did not meet those benchmarks on that one day that they tested in ACT, does that mean that they're not ready for what they're going to do next? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. It doesn't translate that way. Sometimes it does, and when we have the trades fair and we're talking to some of the guys from the union, some of them will say, some of our kids can't pass these tests to get into these apprenticeship programs because people have in the past assumed that if you're going into the trades, you don't need reading and writing skills. That's wrong. So for us as a school, we don't hang everything on the college and career readiness benchmark because we know that picture of a student is bigger than that. It plays into some of those things that you were talking about, but the benchmarks themselves are those numbers that we're beholden to by the state of Illinois or by whatever testing mechanism.
No, but like you, I'm sorry, but like you said, they have to be able to read and write to pass the test. And so there are numbers. I mean, if we had a student graduating in 4 years and couldn't pass a test for a trade, we failed. And so if those numbers give us an indication, as a board, I think that's something we have to be cognizant about and be, looking at and saying, yeah, we need to make sure that metric we are on that metric.
Yes.
Do we have statewide information to compare our school to with the benchmarks?
Yeah, we do. It'll get trickier when we have ACT. The College Board portal is beautiful. The SAT portal is beautiful. You log in and it tells you exactly where you line up against the state and the national benchmark. We are always above the state and the national benchmark in all of our areas in terms of what percentage meet, what our average scores are. We meet or exceed state and national benchmarks. ACT's reporting tool, hopefully no one from ACT is watching, ACT's reporting tool is terrible. When you log into their system, it's very clunky. It does not give you a lot of information. So we're gonna have to do some due diligence on that when we move forward, and we're taking a look at how we line up in other areas. But yes, there is the ability to be in a comparison both nationally, as many people as take it nationally, even College Board reports on, because there's students that are taking it all over the world. So it's like the total population of students versus the Illinois population.
I mean, the whole state's gonna have that problem with the ACT,
Yeah.
right? So I think the report card's gonna look
It's gonna look interesting, and now they're
Right.
resetting the benchmarks too.
Yes.
So that's a
Right.
whole new part of it, because
Right,
if
the
you're
benchmarks
talking-
are changing
Right,
completely.
Dr. Sanders was here, we all know, not too long ago, and he did an interview with RBTV, and one of his talking points, one of the questions they were asking him about were those new benchmarks. And from the standpoint of the state superintendent, what he's saying is that Illinois has been telling children for years that they were not college and career ready, but they were. And so that's why some of those, and there's politics on either side of this, but all that to say it's shifting. It's all sort of in this weird flux place. So this report next year, we're not sure what that'll look like.
So next year will be both the new benchmarks and the ACT.
Yes.
So
just throw this.
No, I think it's a really interesting, discussion as to who sets the benchmarks and when, and where Illinois
Right.
sits with other Midwest states,
Right.
other industrial states.
Yeah.
It gets caught up in a lot of dialogue, but it'll be, assumedly we will, you'll see some real growth.
And this year we attached the AP data as well to this report.
I think that's the board would like to see that moving forward every year. It just makes it easier.
This is, I mean, I'll tell this story all day long because we've always said as an administrative team, we'll put our AP program and our AP scores and our teachers up against anybody in the state or the country. So if you look at the 5-year snapshot of our ACT scores, 5 years ago we had 567 AP students. Class of 2025, we had 635. Every single year, not only are we increasing the number of AP students we have, we're increasing the number of AP exams those students are taking. We're also increasing our number of students who are scoring 3 or higher, which is passing on 1 or more exams. And when you look at the most drastic number to me when you look at the 2021 versus 2025, from this graduating class last year, 81.1% of our students. Now that's everyone, so that's not just class of 2025, that's the 24-25 school year. 81% of our students who were taking an AP class were scoring 3 or higher. And then we have the breakdown there of all of the tests and where you can see those pass rates going. We have some really, really phenomenal AP students, AP teachers, AP programming, where we are continuing to see more and more students take advantage of that opportunity, take a risk. We are an open access school, so we do not have barriers to students entering. We have students that are sitting in AP statistics who took extended algebra, who needed an intervention in math their freshman year, and when they get to their senior year, something has made them feel confident enough that they're willing to try that. And that's always been something that we are proud of. There are schools that will not allow a certain type of student into their AP programs because that will hit their pass rates. For us, the experience is the key for those students, the rigor, the challenge, and so that AP data really is indicative, I think, of that open access policy and all that we do to help our students really get the most out of AP programming.
Yeah, I think, again, this is another board discussion where we talk about getting the right data to monitor some of our policy decisions. And one of them being an equitable access to AP. And we talked about, are we pushing students to take something that they're not ready for? Are we just doing that so that we can, have high numbers? But you have excellent data here to show that by allowing students to make choices for themselves, they have actually done very well. And so, as part of our board goals to have that equity for all of our students and academic, this is speaking to two of our board goals. And it's good data to say that we're moving in a good direction. Thank you, Kylie, for that. And let me ask our students, our student advisor, do you like the opportunity that if you want to take any AP class, you can? Have they been accessible to you?
Yeah, all the AP classes here have been very accessible. I'll graduate RB having taken 11.
Wow.
And
slacker.
And like Ms. Lindquist was saying, is very true that the pass rates are very high, and I owe that a lot to my teachers who push me hard and make sure that I'm doing as well as possible. 5 of the APs I'm taking this year, but on the 6 previous ones I scored all 5s, and so that is a large part due to Mr. O'Rourke having us write essays every other week, or Mr. Bonarigo telling us that it is going to be challenging, but it's going to be all right, and that it's as long as you work hard and you put in the effort, it's accessible to you and it's all there. And there's, especially now in the digital age, there's so much information and useful resources online. So obviously there are going to be times when you struggle a little bit, but there's always someone there to help, even if it's like a computer or someone on YouTube walking you through it.
Yeah, I agree with Aryan. I'm taking 5 APs this year, which was a big jump from 2 last year. But teachers are really accessible. Tomorrow morning, I'm going with Ms. Kaler. She's teaching AP Bio. She's holding like a, she's helping us review for our test tomorrow, so I'm going to go to that. And
so you probably want to get out of here before 10 o'clock?
I want to touch on AP statistics too, how it's like accessible to everyone. I think that's really, really nice. Yeah, a lot of people that I haven't seen in like my other classes, I've seen now in AP stats. So it's
good.
Yeah, it's nice to see my friends get in these classes.
Thank you guys. You did a great job tonight. Kylie, you need to stay for 2 minutes though.
All right. Is it only 2?
We're gonna put that on. Put the timer.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Thank you.
You want me to stay up here?
Yes, because they're going. The 2 old business agenda items are yours.
Okay.
Yep.
So that concludes your report, Dr. Freitas, and the whole team,
Honorable
correct?
members, that concludes
Thank
all
you.
of our performance.
Just like when you say that, that's how I know we can move on. Quickly for information items related to our retreat that was last week, because yes, the board has met 3 of the 4 weeks this month, so it's been a busy month. We have some standard operating procedure updates that between Dr. Skinkis and I will circulate based on Lori's feedback and all of our discussion. So expect that from the board. We can provide comments back and hopefully approve them and move forward by next board meeting. That being said, visitor statement. Is anyone here for visitor comment this evening? No? Okay. I thought there was a gentleman in the back before and I wasn't sure.
It was one of our counselors who just came.
Yeah. Okay. He looked familiar, but I wasn't sure if it was someone from the public that we've seen before, so I wanted to make sure I wasn't omitting anyone. Old business, we don't have anything under life safety, capital improvements, or sustainability. We do have proposed curriculum guide changes.
Yes, so I'm gonna, if it's okay with you, I'm gonna do the fees real quick first.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll do the proposed course fees for 26, 27.
Yeah, so there was, at the last board meeting when I wasn't here, there was some a request for a little additional detail for the applied arts courses whose course fees were doubling. We had several course fees in the applied arts that were set at $20. Those were kind of all in our engineering, construction section of the applied arts, so construction technology, our draft and CAD program, and our pre-arc and pre-engineering program. I went in and I worked with Kendra Cagle to get some of the things that they are specifically referencing, needing, and some of the increases that you can see to particular supplies. One of the things I really wanted to highlight, well, first, don't ask me what all of those things mean, because like the light packets and the things, they're doing some really cool stuff in there, but I would not be able to teach those classes. For a construction technology class, pre-architecture, CAD, all of those, $20 was a really low course fee. When you are looking at providing students with hands-on experiences and lab experiences where they are building a mock-up of a house, where they are working with circuitry, where they are creating things down in the wood shop, you really want to give them that hands-on experience, otherwise why would they be in that class? So increasing to $40 allows us to handle the increase of lumber. A 2x4 costs $5 each, for example, or our 10-hour OSHA training cards are $35 a piece. When we're talking about CAD printers or the Project Lead the Way subscription that helps us get our engineering curriculum up and running, those things come with a higher cost. And when you want to try to do, as I said, more hands-on experiences, and you want students in the lab more, building more things, working with the actual tools that they're going to see in the industry if they continue on, we needed to be able to up that fee so that we could give them a more well-rounded experience.
Now, that answers my question. I just think, since I've been on the board, this is the first time I've seen fee increases for many of these classes, so I'm not opposed to them. And I assume that there was some back office
and I think, the board knows in the last couple of years, this is our second year with our new teacher. When we had a former applied arts teacher leave, and we hired an auto teacher, and we hired the inside part of the auto teacher, which was the CAD engineering. So the new teacher in these areas just lived the experience the first year, right? Because the budgets were submitted and we had already done course fees. So now that that new teacher has been here and we've seen some curriculum development and looked at the opportunities that he would like to give students, and with those more hands-on experience, just made full sense that we had to grow in that area.
Were there any other questions on this, or go ahead and move forward this evening? Okay.
That was the only one.
Ms. Gaska. Hold on, we're gonna approve these quickly if we could.
The Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, approves the course fees for the 2026-2027 school year as presented in the September 23, 2025 Board Agenda Packet.
We have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Durkin, and we do need a roll call.
Mr. Durkin.
Yes.
Ms. Gasko.
Yes.
Ms. Ruska.
Yes.
Mr. Novak.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Ms. Salas.
Yes.
Mr. Caputo.
Yes.
Now, curriculum.
Curriculum changes. So these proposed changes to the curriculum guide are proposed new courses, proposed course description changes, and proposed course name changes. I've summarized those for you in the memo that goes with this, and then each has its own page in the accompanying pages. You've seen this once. The Curriculum Advisory Council has also seen this. There were a couple of questions on this. One had to do with the AP seminar class and why that's not like a wholesale replacement of an English course at that 10th grade level where this would go. We have typically had 3 levels in English in junior and senior level. The seniors have contemporary literature, honors world literature, and they have AP literature. Juniors have American literature, they can go into honors American studies, or they can go into AP language. So it's very traditional since I've been here for us to have sort of a general level course an honors level course, and an AP course. AP Seminar is sort of the sister of AP Research, which are two capstone courses from the College Board, wherein if students take both of them, they have the opportunity to receive something called an AP diploma. It's like a college and career pathway endorsement, but for AP. It's another thing that you can put on your diploma, on your transcript. These courses deal with research, with argument, with writing. An AP Seminar is a natural, based on College Board's vision of how these things fit into the high school curricula. AP Seminar is a natural prerequisite or preparatory course for AP language. So for us at the sophomore level, we don't know that every kid is going to be AP ready. We don't know that every student is going to be ready to challenge themselves at that AP level. So we felt like adding this in and seeing what our students are interested in. We think we will have a population of students who will be interested in the AP route. I'm sitting next to two people that probably would have taken this class if it was available when they were sophomores. We have a large population of students that take AP Macro and Micro at the sophomore year. So some students are ready, and some students just aren't ready yet. So we don't want to remove that Honors English 10 and kind of alienate that kiddo maybe who's in the middle and wants to get ready for AP, but doesn't want to be there yet. So that's kind of why we did not go the path of forcing the two-way street in English with Seminar. Another question was submitted, I believe, with regard to the robotics and I think, did you answer this last time? The partnerships in terms of internship opportunities.
Yes, we were.
We talked about that one, okay. Other than that, I do not believe there were any specific questions entered in about this. You heard Patty Sarkady talk earlier tonight about RB being selected, one of 100 schools in the nation that was selected to be a part of the development of that AP Business Principles. So in approving that, we're really excited. That gives students yet another pathway to fulfill that consumer economics requirement. So these courses we feel would be good additions to our guide and to the types of things that our students need to continue being ready for whatever their next step is.
The biggest thing for the board is in this report is we already looked at the course changes or adjustments. It was the summary memo that Kylie included for September 23rd, 2015. It just highlights all the changes. They did a deep dive with the division heads, teacher leaders on adjusting the curriculum guide, removing courses that haven't been offered for several years, reorganizing it, relabeling it, making it more user-friendly, labeling early college, labeling career pathways. And that was all as a request of the board over the last 2 years when we were going through all our different staffing and curriculum discussions.
So my understanding is that summary memo I shared with you is not necessarily, the board doesn't necessarily vote on the approval of these kind of summary changes. The board votes on the courses I was just mentioning. But since it was sort of at the urging of the board that we really did need to do that deep dive of the curriculum guide and really clean it up, that summary memo highlights what that looked like. And when I say the we, I mean our division heads, our 4 division heads, our 5 teacher leaders that represent all of our departments. So we had department representation from all of our departments in the building, along with administration, really doing a page-by-page, line-by-line scrub of that guide to make sure we are communicating effectively and accurately all of our offerings. And now we're in the process of, now that we've kind of cleaned things up, we are working to transfer everything that we cleaned up in School Links, because School Links always matches exactly what is in our curriculum guide, so that when students go in to select their courses, they have the totality of information about all of our courses.
So this was a huge project, so thank you. I would say this was one of the goals, and I think it's been a lot of work for so many people you just listed. And thank you again to my colleagues who sat with you, I think, for a couple hours last week and went through this.
Yeah, it was much needed. Thank you, Ms. Haruska and Ms. Gaska. That was really beneficial. And they were partners starting all the way back in the spring when we were kind of in the thick of this as well. Some of their direct suggestions are, laid out in that curriculum guide, so I'm very appreciative of that partnership.
So just for clarity, tonight, we only are voting on the new course offerings and technically not even the elimination of other courses. It's simply the new course offerings as part of what the board role is here.
Yes.
So any questions on that, or can we move forward tonight on that issue, or do we, you wanted this evening?
This is the second read.
It's the second
already,
read,
so
right?
we
We've had
should be
this,
ready
there's
for
been
it.
a fair amount of questions and dialogue. Is everyone comfortable moving forward with that resolution, or that action then? Thank you.
The Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, approves the new course proposals for the curriculum guide for the 2026-2027 school year as presented in the September 23, 2025 Board Agenda Packet.
Can we have a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Ruska. And we do need a roll call, please.
Mr. Caputo.
Yes.
Mr. Durkin.
Yes.
Ms. Gaska.
Yes.
Ms. Ruska.
Yes.
Mr. Novak.
Yes.
Mr. Williams. Ms. Salas.
Yes. So I would say thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
support. Appreciate it and for your time.
Good job, Kylie. Good job, everybody. Thank you for staying.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We don't have any additional new business this evening, excuse me, new business. Visitors' statements, none present this evening. Any discussion items, as usual, I'll bundle together 11 and 12. Any discussion items for this evening or consideration of items for future meetings from anyone?
Yeah, I would like maybe like a minute, 2 minutes. We had a robust workshop, and a couple things came to mind on our goals. A couple of things that tie in directly to our goals, just to highlight that. Because as board members, we focused on our goals, and if everything we're doing should be meeting towards those goals. And just kind of talking about them, highlighting them, makes them live with us. And there was a couple conversations we had today that I'm like, oh yeah, that's that goal, that's that goal. And so we could, and we might not get them all, but if we could have a minute or two if it came to somebody's mind, I would like to be able to do that. Future consideration, I know, time's running out. With the curriculum guide, we had mentioned the pathways. Lorena and I were talking about the new state mandated pathways where we're supposed to have 5. For a future time, we can bring in, who's relevant for that and kind of share what those pathways look like, the ones we've developed, and maybe even have discussions which ones might be, interesting to move forward or something we'd like to see developed.
Does that make sense to have that discussion when we bring in the section, the division leads? So I think it ties into that work quite a bit.
It does. I would start by the board needs to click on that link tonight that Beth included, and that should provide you a good refresher of everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could even be its own topic, just those pathways that the state said we now have to have, and then we would have that information. So when we bring in the heads, if it related to one of those pathways, we would be able to talk to them. So that would definitely be a future.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, related to the goals, what we talked about at the meeting last week was over the next 2 to 3 months through the end of this fiscal year, or I shouldn't say fiscal year, that's my day job, through the end of this calendar year to start bringing forth each of the goals. So, the retreat happened 7 days ago. I think everyone needs to take kind of a breath. But my expectation is we'll see the administration start bringing some of that forward in the coming weeks.
But I mean even lighter, like we had a goal of communication, and today we were talking about the walk, the St. Jude walk. To me, that really kind of resonated with our communication goal. Remember how we talked about getting more into our community, not just our high school families, and hearing about that St. Jude activity, that's what I'm talking about, these 3 minutes, that was a resonation. That was a clear meeting, I think, of that communication goal. We had talked about during our robust, looking at academic performance, and we definitely today touching on, when they said 14 out of 15 of our freshmen graduated, that were identified and went through the 4 years. I think that really touched on our academic, so we have that goal, and we were touching that goal today. That was a kind of a percolated to the top for me. That was like, yes, that's what we're talking about. That's a real win. Those 14 out of the 15. I don't know if anybody else, something came to their mind when they heard of our, or just even talking about the new, we were talking about the footprint. That was been one of our goals on the wall. And Dr. Skinkis, where policy is in the process of being met. So seeing how we are actively working with those goals, I think is exciting. It means we're doing that work. And I don't know if anybody else had a moment where you're like, hey, that belongs in that box, but that's what we were talking about.
Anyone else have anything to weigh in? No? Students, we're good?
Yep.
Okay. Matters for closed session would be the next item. We have appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body. We have student discipline, individual student matters, purchase, sale, or lease of real property, probable imminent or pending litigation, collective negotiations, and school safety. Ms. Gaska.
The Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois, enters closed session for the purpose of considering the closed session matters as presented in the September 23, 2025 Board Agenda Packet.
So moved. We need a second. Second from Mr. Williams. And we need a roll call to go to close, please.
Ms. Ruska?
Yes.
Mr. Novak?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Salas?
Yes.
Mr. Piscopo?
Yes.
Mr. Durkin?
Yes.
Ms. Gaska?
Yes.
Okay. We will